Just like there are functions and methods in JavaScript that can accept a callback, you too can create your own function or your own method that does a specific task, then call a provided callback. So let's create a basic function, thus you can give a callback to it. Then this function simply calls the callback provided. I will call it call me. This function simply accepts a callback, then here it calls it. So it is really a simple function. And here whenever you want to use this function, you give it a callback. And it will call the callback for you. So let's create a basic callback that console logs a simple message. Now we can see that it is working. Great. If you give it a different callback, it will have a different result. And that's really powerful. In JavaScript, functions are really just special objects. You can give a function to a function can return a function. You can do a lot of crazy stuff with functions. Now here is a challenge for you. Create a function that accepts an array and a callback. This function calculates the sum of the items in the array. Then it calls the provided callback with the sum calculated as an argument for the callback. So let's repeat. Create a function. This function will accept an array and a callback. This function calculates the sum of the items in the array. Then it calls the provided callback with the sum calculated as an argument for the callback. I know this is a little bit advanced, but give it a try. And now we will do it together. Let's create the function. I will call it SumItems. This function accepts two arguments. The first one is an array, then the second one is a callback. Then the function must calculate the sum of the items in the array. So I will make use of the reduce method to do this. Then we will give a value of 0 to the accumulator as its initial value. Let's console log the sum variable to see what it will have when we call it. Then let's console log the SumItems function with an array as its first argument. So ignore the callback for the moment. And great, we have the sum of the items in the array. The only thing we have to do now is to call the callback with the sum as its argument. So let's remove the console log from here. And now we need to add a callback that will be called after we calculate the sum of these array items. This callback has a parameter that will be this value. And here let's console log the value. And great, now we created a function that can do a specific task for us. In our case, it calculates the sum of the items in the array. Then when it finishes, it calls the callback that we provide to it and pass to it the sum as an argument. Great. And that's how we create a function that accepts a callback. For each function that we saw that accepts a callback, within these functions, somewhere in the block of code of these functions, the callback is called just like we did it here. And arguments are passed to it, just like we did it here. So this is a little bit advanced. If you still find it confusing, try to create other functions that accept callbacks. Practice and practice and practice. Remember, with practice, everything becomes easy.